Trump is defending the proposed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. This comes despite growing backlash here in the United States and abroad. The European Union has threatened to retaliate against the move by imposing its own tariffs on products like Harley-Davidson and bourbon. But President Trump argues that tariffs are necessary to combat China and other countries. He's also voiced support for a trade war. For more now, let's bring in Gabe DiBenedetti. He's a national political reporter for Politico. In fact, he said trade wars are good, Gabe. So let's talk about these tariffs. When the president had that open meeting to discuss the tariffs, the impression was that this was to target China. And then some people pointed out, Canada and South Korea sell the most steel to the U.S. And now he's saying, well, this is actually also about renegotiating NAFTA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is this about?
That's a good question, and that's why the answer is yeah. So the answer is the president is simply wanted to get out there and more or less say, listen, this is how I feel about trade. People are taking advantage of us. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs.
Right.
But the reality is, of course, it's much more complicated than that. This morning he got on Twitter and he said, listen, this is actually about NAFTA. Of course, China isn't directly affected by NAFTA. But when you have countries in the European Union and the European Union itself essentially trying to target the United States by saying, we're going to go after Harley-Davidson, we're going to go after bourbon. By the way, those two things are produced in the home states of none other than Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. Mm-hmm. This is a much bigger conversation. Mm-hmm. And this is the rest of the world saying to the president, listen, you can't start a trade war and expect that, wars go both ways, guy. So he is now trying to realize, well, okay, we have to fight back somehow, and he's trying to find a way through this. His NAFTA tweet this morning suggested that he's trying to roll back his initial strong tariff argument, right. But we'll see what this actually looks like.
And we've seen him sort of do that before. You sort of have a hard line, a line in the sand, and then kind of use, it's almost good cop, bad cop, like sort of using it as a negotiation
tactic.
Ploy, yeah,
absolutely. And, I hesitate to attribute too much of this to staff within the White House because at the end of the day, it is up to the president. Yeah. But the reality is that we do know that there are warring factions within the White House when it comes to tariffs. And clearly the side that wanted him to go full protectionist, to go big tariff, to use that term, won in the short run. But it's also very clear that a lot of people, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have gotten to him in the recent days and said, if you really want to do these tariffs, we can figure out a way to do it, but we really have to talk about what this is going to do to our economy, what this is going to mean for the midterms,
right.
And basically, how are we going to do this?
Speaking of what it could mean for the midterms, could this be elevated to the level where it is an issue for the midterm elections?
Directly an issue? Perhaps not, because it's actually a pretty complex issue that certainly voters understand, but it's not really at the top of their list. But the way that a lot of Republicans are certainly concerned right now that this is going to play in is it could have a real hit on the economy. And so a lot of Republicans have argued for a while with this tax reform bill that passed late last year, with the improving economy, voters are going to say, hey, Republicans are in control, let's keep them in power because right. I've got more money in my wallet. If the economy takes a downturn now because of this tariffs decision, because of this impending trade war that we're apparently about to jump into, that could make an already tough midterms landscape for Republicans look basically forbidding entirely.
One more issue for them to deal with. Let's talk Russia investigation. So the New York Times is reporting that the State Department was granted $120 million to help fight Russian meddling. Hasn't spent any of it. What's going on?
Well, this is basically what happens when you have a State Department that is, number one, so separate from the White House, because we know that there are chilly relationships there, particularly between the president and Secretary Tillerson. But beyond that, you do have an administration that's policy has essentially been to say, maybe there was Russian meddling, maybe not, let's not really talk about this. So what we have here is both action in that they have the money and total inaction in that they really haven't stepped forward at all. And it just speaks to the lack of any coherent strategy on this Russia issue.
Yeah.
And when you talk to folks on Capitol Hill, their answer isn't, it's such a shame that the president isn't talking about this. Their answer is, don't ask me about 2016. Why aren't we doing anything about 2018 or 2020?
Right.
And when you've seen Vladimir Putin in recent days asked about this, he's essentially like, I'm not going to say we're not going to do this anymore.
The plot thickens. Okay, so we have the president meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu today. Benjamin Netanyahu probably very happy to be leaving home for a few days because he's been really facing a lot of scrutiny and facing the potential of a court case. They're not allowing cameras thus far to watch any of this. What can we expect from the White House? What will these two men be discussing?
Well, thus far is the key point there. Mm-hmm. There has been a lot of pressure on them to allow reporters, at least in the room, to try and shout some questions because, as you said, there are questions of indictments hanging over Netanyahu. Obviously, the United States President Trump has all sorts of issues going on right now. Clearly, what they're going to try and do is talk tough on Iran and basically say, we're working together on Iran, we're going to crack down, don't ask us any other questions, essentially.
Right.
What we're not expecting to see is any movement on peace talks in the Middle East, and we're certainly not expecting either of them to say anything about the number of issues that are currently dogging both of them, whether it's the corruption probe in Israel or the Russia question or trade or gun control or any one of these other issues on the table, DACA, anything for the United States.
Will Jared Kushner be in the room?
That's a great question. Yeah. He is, in theory, the point person on U.S.-Israeli relationships and relations, obviously. We don't actually know if that's true.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Gabe DeBenedetti, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, new video is raising questions about the deadly